So The Devil Wears Prada 2 was directed by David Frankel, who actually directed the very first Devil Wears Prada movie 20 years ago. Also features the return of Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci, who are all reuniting again after 20 years after the first movie. And taking place after all that time, Andy, played by Anne Hathaway, once again is returning to Runway to work with Miranda, once again played by Meryl Streep. And things kind of are complicated this time. Relationships are different than they were 20 years ago, and we have a brand new movie. So, this was a movie, when I first heard about it, I was not entirely looking forward to it. Mainly because at the time, I had not seen The Devil Wears Prada 1. Having seen it now, I watched it once last year, and then I watched it again at some point this year because the trailer dropped, and then I watched it again a few weeks back because of the movie finally coming out. I was like, okay, maybe I need a refresher. But it's one of those movies that has kind of grown on me. Like, the movie itself is very funny. All the characters themselves are likable and interesting enough. It has great performances, particularly from Meryl Streep and Emily Blunt and Stanley Tucci. And the movie has kind of grown on me. Like, it's definitely a movie that, it's lighthearted, it's fun enough. It's like, if I need to watch something funny, I'll put it on. So with Devil Wears Prada 2, was this movie going to be as good as the first movie? You have the main cast returning. You also have the director of the first movie returning. So as far as this movie goes, this movie is fine. It's not mind-blowing amazing, but I didn't expect it to be. It's not as good as the first movie, but it's not an unbearable watch. So, let's dive into it. First off, I do think a lot of the actors do a really good job, particularly all four characters who are returning in this movie. Meryl Streep, once again, is great as Miranda. Seeing how all their lives are different is very fascinating to see. Anne Hathaway is also pretty good, but I would argue she's actually the weakest of the main characters in this movie. Emily Blunt is also pretty good. At first, I felt like her character wasn't in the movie enough, but then, like, as the movie goes on, her character does a lot more. Is like, okay, you're actually in this movie a lot more than I was expecting you to be. So, it's really good. Also, Stanley Tucci in this movie again. I heard he was having, like, this big moment in the movie, and it's like, and throughout the movie, I'm like, okay, I guess he's good. He's good as Nigel. It's a role he's born to play, but I don't really see like his big shining moments, and his big shining moments is really good. It happens towards the end of the movie. It's like, okay, that's actually a really cool moment, and I'm really glad that happened. So good on you, Stanley Tucci. As far as the new additions to the movie, or the more supporting cast of this movie, I did like some of the new assistants, particularly Simone Ashley, who plays Miranda's new assistant in this movie. I thought she was pretty good. Um, Anne Hathaway's character has a new assistant who also does a pretty good job. Kenneth Branagh is also in this movie as Miranda's new husband. He has a few good moments here and there and kind of humanizes Miranda a little bit more. I thought he did a pretty good job. Lucy Liu's also in the movie briefly. She's fine, but like she could have been in the movie a little bit more, which I'll talk about. It was kind of funny to see some people that I recognize, like B.J. Novak from The Office, Rachel Bloom in Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. So that was pretty cool to see. As far as like other characters, it was also really cool to see Andy's friend from the first movie back in this movie and having a much bigger role in the first movie. So I was really glad to see that as well. The movie does also have some really funny moments here and there, whether it's like a line of dialogue that's just kind of thrown in there or something that kind of goes out of its way to be funny and such. And it's also kind of funny to see like Miranda adjusting to the times. It's like there's like a moment in the movie where it's like she says something that may be considered offensive, but someone's like, maybe you shouldn't say that. And she's like, what shouldn't I say? New Jersey or something like that? It can be funny, but it's not overly funny. Like, I definitely think the first movie was funnier. And again, speaking of the first movie, I was worried from very early on that it was going to rely on the original movie. Like, a lot of these legacy sequels, they wind up just relying on the movie so much that they kind of become indistinguishable between them. I was so worried because literally the first shot of this movie is the same shot from the first movie. The first shot of this movie is the same thing. It's Anne Hathaway just brushing her teeth. So it was frustrating at first thinking, oh no, don't tell me that this is going to be another one of those movies where, it's going to be the exact same thing done again. But thankfully it isn't. The movie at least is trying to do its own thing and trying to adjust to the new world that they are in, while still kind of trying to pay homage to what their original world was like, at least. So I thought, at least you're trying to do something new. But let's talk about some things I don't like. As with every comedy, not every joke lands. I think for the most part, it's like, for every 2 jokes that worked, there was like 1 that didn't. And it's not like it's a groaner of a joke, but it's just more like, I didn't laugh at every single line. Also, some new characters I felt like could have been used a little bit better. Again, Lucy Liu's character. Her character could have been in the movie a lot more. Like, they were hyping her character up, and she appears maybe about a third of the way through. And then she appears again later on in the movie, which I won't spoil by any means, but it's like, oh, well, that's kind of disappointing. It's like, you're not really in this movie that much, but kind of wish you were. Also, Anne Hathaway, Andy has a new boyfriend in this movie, which is kind of like, it's more of a, like a start of a relationship and such. And if I'm being honest, you can cut out that relationship entirely and you would miss nothing. Like, it adds nothing to the story whatsoever. And also, there are some character choices in this movie that kind of didn't really make sense. Sometimes it was like, oh, it's for the joke, and kind of like seeing how Miranda adjusts to like different things and such. Like, particularly with Miranda, even though Meryl Streep is good in the role, there are definitely some moments in this movie where it's like, you're kind of trying to push like what Miranda would actually do. Like, there's no way Miranda would do certain things in the office or certain things ahead of time. And it's like, it kind of was one of those, like, I don't know if I buy that entirely. Like, you can argue, like, oh, there were some moments in the first movie where it's like, she was doing things that were kind of out of her character in the first movie based on what we learned in the first hour or so. But we kind of realized, oh, that's what her character was like, and she kind of knew what was going on. It kind of makes sense. But this movie, it doesn't, and it's more just for a joke. Also, Emily Blunt's character kind of does a few things that are just out of her character, and I just don't know how, like, with how things are wrapped up overall with all the characters and such, I don't know how it's going to really work out unless they make another movie where it's like they kind of address some things. But this movie definitely is a fun enough time that it's not terrible by any means, but you do realize that there's also another really good movie with all these people involved that is actually really funny and actually more endearing than this movie. This is a fine enough time that you could watch and be okay with. So I will say the actors do a really good job, particularly the four leads once again returning. Some new characters are really good, particularly Simone Ashley. It does have some funny moments. It doesn't rely on the original. It kind of shows like how the world is like now. And it's like, it was both kind of interesting, funny, and a little terrifying at the same time. But I will say some characters didn't really make a lot of sense. Some new characters just didn't need to be in this movie. And also, not every joke was fine. Not every joke worked, but this movie is at least watchable. I can't say it's a bad movie, but I just know there's a better movie out there with all these people involved. I'll give Devil Wears Prada 2.5 out of 4 stars. Stream it. So, what's a movie that you would like to see a Legacy sequel to? Comment down below, subscribe to the channel. This is Pat. Stay safe.